public and community library sector on the board. And right now, this is a very important session, which I thought as public libraries, we need to take the opportunity to look at a fundamental part of our job descriptions in terms of what we do and how we are aligning ourselves. So I hope the session will be informative, and please feel free to ask any questions. Also, if you feel right now it's not part of what you want to talk about, reach out to us. Our speaker this morning is somebody who's very learned, who's very well versed, who's also done studies on the SDGs. So I thought, who better for us to call upon to address us on this important part of the SDGs. So our speaker is running a few minutes late, but I thought I'll just take this opportunity to welcome all of you, and I hope you enjoyed the session. And I just want you to know that as the public library sector, this is going to be just one of many programs that we are going to be hosting so that we put ourselves on top, we are in the limelight, and we don't forget our roles, because what we have found now is that we are moving away from the traditional role of our jobs. We're reaching out, we are more community based, we are more interactive. And what better way to do it than to comply with what is required of us? We've got the SDGs, we've got the National Development Plan, we have all of that, we have IFLA. So there's so much going on that we need to be aware of, and what better way that we can do it if we have these interactive sessions. So I think all of you have seen me now, so I'm going to turn off my camera and I'm just going to check if our speaker has joined us so that we can start with the program. Thank you, colleagues. Okay, I see he did say to me that he's running a few minutes late. But I think in terms of the title of the topic, we ask, why do SDGs matter to public libraries? And I think when we look at it, we should say that SDGs do matter because, and most importantly, we are the implementation partners. And we should not see ourselves as mere actors that are performing in a drama or we're on a show. It's what we do on a daily basis. And as custodians of information and learning colleagues, we provide this free, trusted, and equitable access to information, to learning, to technology, and also our spaces. We provide that as civic spaces. So we are the core enablers of sustainable development, and the SDGs do matter to us. And today, our speaker is going to share insight and impart knowledge on these SDGs, and perhaps this can be a guide to us using the IFLA platform to share the stories of the wonderful work being done in all our libraries across the sector. You know, I'm very passionate about public libraries, but I think we need to be a collaborative institution. We should not be working in silos. We should share our ideas across the board, whether it's academic, whether it's special, and of course, us with public libraries as well. We can work in unity to make a difference in all sectors of what we are doing. And just another short note while our speaker is joining us. As you all know, and I'm sure a lot of you were a part of the special general meeting that we had on was it the 12th of March? That is a very, very important meeting that we had because it was discussing the Constitution. And I'm reaching out to all of you that are here today to please go onto your portfolio on the LIASA website. Please update your designations. Please update your status and your records, because this is a mandate by SACWA. We are working very hard to maintain our recognition as a professional body. So I want all of you to please go and make sure that you put the sector that you belong in, the field. If you are a public librarian, belong to that. If you are an academic librarian, belong to that sector. And remember, encourage your colleagues as well. Go and apply for your professional librarian status. The LIASA office is there to help all of you. So please, across your name, make sure you have PLSA, because that is what you are. You are a LIASA member, you're part of this whole group. So let us acknowledge that, and let us make sure that we comply with all of the requirements for SACWA so that we can maintain our professional recognized status as LIASA members. We work very hard for this institution, and I want all of you to take that initiative and go onto the site. And please, I appeal to you, let us make a difference. I'm not sure if Sabiwe is with us yet. He did say he was running late. So I see he's still not on. He did say 10 minutes, but he's still running a little bit late. Colleagues might. Oh, has he? Excellent. Thank you so much, Apelele. Okay, colleagues, I think our speaker is with us, which is wonderful news. Allow me to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Saviwe Bangani, who's going to talk to us today on why SDGs matter to public libraries. Just to give you a little bit of background information on Dr. Bangani, he is the Director of Research Services at Stellenbosch University, Library and Information Services. He holds a PhD in Information Science from the University of South Africa. He's a researcher and practitioner with more than 20 years of experience in academic librarianship. Dr. Bangani has published over 40 journal articles and 2 book chapters. He's also the author of 2 isiXhosa novels. His research interests include the SDGs, community engagement, open access, African languages, research, data management, information literacy, and related areas in library and information science. In 2018, Dr. Bangani was named Librarian of the Year by LIASA, and his paper towards a framework for community-engaged academic libraries presented at the 2024 LIASA conference received the Best Paper Award. Colleagues, help me to welcome Dr. Saviwe Bangani. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving us your time on this morning. And I know our public librarians are going to be so excited to learn more on the SDGs. Thank you, Dr. Bangani. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Shanita. I hope you can hear me. Shanita, am I
I
audible?
can hear you loud.
Oh,
Yes, you
okay.
are.
Oh, okay. First of all, colleagues, I just want to thank you, especially you, Shanita, for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I'm always a critic of public librarians in particular, for not really participating, in these kinds of debates, and thereby kind of reducing, I must say, the stature of the kind of work that we are doing, as well as the importance of the contribution that we are making, in terms of development, etc., etc. But I was so glad to get this invite from you, even though I had to prepare last moments due to some commitments, some work commitments. I've already been introduced, colleagues, so I will not introduce myself. I'll just continue. Basically, the presentation starts with a very funny question, an obvious one. Why do the SDGs matter to public libraries? I'm sure most of you are wondering why are we even asking that question? But let's just start with the presentation. So in terms of the areas that I'm going to cover here, maybe I should also apologize with my slides, Shanitha. This was last minute work. So I don't think they will look quite good. But then I'll try to cover as much as possible in this hour that you have given me. In terms of the contents, we'll look at the concept of the public library, and then public libraries and development. That will be very brief. I'm not going into detail there. And what SDGs are, and the actual 17 SDGs, the contribution or possible contribution of public libraries on those SDGs, and the alignment or possible alignment of library programs to the SDGs, and the conclusion. Basically, colleagues, this is not really, I would not say it's a scientific study. Some of the information is actually my views and my opinions. But then I did try to consult, with literature. And you can call it, a literature review, not in the scientific sense, but there is a bit of literature review that is being done there, even though I was not able to supply the reference list at the end. I just, didn't have time, but I think I will still work on this presentation after this. So in terms of the concept of public libraries, I looked at the IFLA UNESCO Public Library Manifesto 2022. We know that this manifesto has been, updated, I think, since the 1960s. So each and every other decade, they update it. And the last update in this case was in 2022. And this manifesto calls the public library a local center of information that makes all kinds of knowledge and information readily available to its users. It goes on to say it is a living force for education, culture, inclusion, and information. It is an essential agent for sustainable development and for individual fulfillment of peace and spiritual welfare through the minds of all individuals. So you can see that sustainable development forms part, of the very definition, of the very mission of a public library. So, the question of why, SDGs are important to public libraries doesn't even come into play. It's an obvious one if you look at this definition. So the manifesto goes on to list 12 key missions of public library. I have, kind of shortened these missions. It's quite long sentences, but just to try to make things, more easier and understandable for the audience. So it says the key missions of a public library is to provide free and uncensored access to diverse information and ideas, support education, lifelong learning and self-directed knowledge development, promote creativity, innovation, etc., etc., and to foster the literacy, as in the basic literacy, writing and reading, digital literacy, that is the new literacies now that we are expected to have, digital literacy, media and information literacy, and to deliver services both in physical and digital formats. I must just add that in various formats as well, so that it can meet the universal access goals, so that a blind person can be able to walk in this library and use the resources, using braille and all those things, and to enable access to community information and support civic engagement. And it also provides access to scientific and health information. So when you have students from universities as a public library, it is your mission to actually assist them, that is university students in this case, to assist them to find scientific information. So your mission is broader, way broader than the other kinds of libraries like academic, special libraries, etc., etc., in that each and every member of the society should be welcomed in your library and should be assisted when they get into your library. To support, entrepreneurship and other community initiatives. And you also have a mission to preserve and provide access to local, indigenous, and cultural heritage. So basically, we have to ensure that our languages do not die. That is your mission as the public library. Ensure that you have enough resources in our languages so that they remain the languages basically that are widely used in our society to promote cultural diversity and facilitate research. So these aspirations, these align very well, in fact, with the aspirations of the South African Library Charter, which was completed by Professor Nkondo and others. I'm saying now for academic libraries, this is just for public libraries, sorry, to promote reading and writing with a focus on family literacy programs. This is what our own charter in South Africa says, to say these libraries should promote literacy, basic literacy, reading and writing, to support education and learning, whether it's education that is formal or informal. Be it at secondary school level, primary school level, or tertiary level. This is what the public library is supposed to do. Provide useful information provision for users, e.g., consumer health, employment opportunities, encourage participatory democracy and active citizenship. So basically, it is in your mission to play a role in terms of strengthening democracy in South Africa and ensuring that we remain active citizens in terms of the decisions that are taken in the various municipalities, in the various provincial legislatures, and even in the national parliament. To foster creativity and cultural expression, support businesses and entrepreneurship, foster social cohesion and the appreciation of cultural diversity, and to roll out information literacy. So you can see that, and it's actually also emphasized by the manifesto that I referred to. You can see that the key mission of the public library really it encourages them to support the sustainable development goals and the construction of a more equitable, humane, and sustainable society. Now, I'll take you a little bit back to public libraries and development. I can even say libraries and development. This is not a new concern for public libraries. There is a report that was produced by Zaiman and al, which was commissioned by Salis as far back as 1987. This is at the height of apartheid. But then librarians were already concerned, about their role in terms of, development, or the role that they play in development. And the report is entitled The Use of Libraries for Development of South Africa. And it goes on to say, knowledge is vital for social, economic, and political advancement. You can see that they were already thinking along the lines of the Sustainable Development Goals that came out in 2015, already in 1987, to say, where is our role? What is our role in terms of, development as libraries? What role are we playing? We needed to find our role in terms of, contributing to the development. And the report states that public libraries contribute to education, formal or informal, adult or children, etc., etc. They contribute to tertiary education. So public librarians have, you cannot complain that we're getting a lot of university students, for example. There's a lot of UNISA students in this library, and we don't know how to assist them. It is part of what we have to do to assist tertiary education. Technical colleges, for example, in South Africa, most of them don't have libraries. So that responsibility falls on your shoulders as public libraries to actually ensure that these students also get access to information. You look at schools, they don't have libraries. Only 8% of schools in South Africa have functional libraries. So it falls on your shoulders to ensure that you provide information to these learners. And public libraries contribute to imparting literacy skills. This is in 1987. Public libraries contribute to preservation of African languages and culture. And to say that, things remain the same even now, they indicate that there is a shortage of African language books. So they noted that. And I'm sure this is still applicable even today. And just to let you know, colleagues, that was one of the things that actually inspired me to write, some Xhosa books. It's Xhosa books, because I was a librarian for African languages. I couldn't just sit there and complain. I had to do something to say I've done something about this at least. So that was the reason, or one of the things that actually inspired me. But despite this, this is what the report is saying. Despite this, these libraries do not always adequately articulate their contribution to development. I'm not sure if we can say the public library of today. Of course, generally, libraries tend not to do that. But I started off by saying that I'm the biggest critic of public libraries because I think they are even worse, when it comes to articulating their contribution to development, talking about the work that they are doing, bragging about the contribution that they are making to the society, showing the impact, the return on investment that these libraries are making in terms of the societal or addressing the societal ills that bedevil our country. So it's very important that we actually market ourselves, we talk about these things, we ensure that everybody knows the contribution that we are making. So public libraries in the 21st century, this is the IFLA UNESCO Public Library Manifesto, contribute to the SDGs and the construction of a more equitable, humane, and sustainable societies. So if you look at a study that was done in Egypt in 2019, it refers to public libraries as social agents for development that contribute to the SDGs. But I want to re-emphasize this, but the contribution to the SDGs is not always obvious to those that are outside of the field. Hence, it is important for us as librarians, as public librarians, to showcase this contribution, to show that this is what we do, and this is how we contribute to sustainable development goals. This is how we contribute to the National Development Plan. This is how we contribute to the Africa 2060, the Africa, that we aspire towards in 2063 in terms of that plan. This is how this is what our contribution is in terms of those, national and international development plans. So I just wanted to now touch on the issue of SDGs to say what are these SDGs? So SDGs are often described as a developmental framework. Some refer to them as a blueprint that seeks to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. And these were adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2015. Maybe just to take you back, as far back as 2013, 2012, 2013, IFLA was already discussing, because we knew that the Millennium Development Goals will come to an end in 2014. So we were already discussing as the field as to what will be our contribution to the next, we're being proactive to the next, development agenda, international development agenda. And there are actually some goals, or even, shall I say, targets rather, within the SDGs that were initiated by us as the librarians. Most of you might not know that, but we initiated those. So we are the custodians of those targets to ensure that there is access to information, for example, for all. So that is the target that we actually initiated as the field. The issue of the promotion of cultural heritage, it came from us as the librarians. So we cannot run away from the fact that we have to contribute to those SDGs. But in describing the SDGs, the UN refers to them as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone, everywhere. So this means then that they are not only applicable to a single country, to a certain community, they are applicable to everyone in the world. And they seek to ensure that nobody is left behind, so that we all develop, we all reach a certain stage of development at least. These have 17 goals and 169 targets that seeks to address the negative trends that bedevil our societies. They are both universal and interlinked. By interlinked, we mean that you cannot achieve the SDG 5 on gender equality without quality education. There is no way. If you don't ensure that the girl child, women achieve a certain level of literacy and contribute to economic development, just like men, then you will not be able to achieve the SDGs, or in fact, SDG 5. You can't eradicate poverty, which is SDG 1, where there are gender disparities, or in fact, where there is no quality education and there are very wide gender disparities. In addition, you cannot have sustainable cities and communities without providing decent work and economic growth. I'm just, making some examples. In terms of the universalities, this means then that they are applicable to all countries, irrespective of the developmental status. You can be developed, you can be underdeveloped, etc., etc. Ironically, most of the research, most literature on the achievement of SDGs actually emanate from developed countries. Very few, in fact, in terms of the percentage, we have a very low percentage of papers that emanate from the global south. So you can see that these are a concern not only for developing world and in the global south, but also for the global north countries. They are relevant to each and every stakeholder, which includes ourselves as librarians, private sector, civil society, etc., etc. And partnership remain at the center of the SDGs. You can never achieve most of these SDGs without forming some form of partnership. So hence the very last SDG, SDG 17, speaks to partnership for the SDGs. So now I just wanted to quickly indicate or give an indication of the 17 SDGs. SDG 1 is often, just called no poverty. There is a longer version of what it indicates, description, but then for you to remember it easily, just say no poverty, SDG 1, SDG 2, zero hunger, SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 8, decent work and economic development, SDG 9, SDG 10, reduced inequalities, 11, sustainable cities and communities, 12, responsible consumption and production, and then followed by climate change, and at the end is it's partnerships for the goals. But it's very important to take note of the peace, justice, and strong institutions, SDG 16. I can argue that as public libraries, we contribute in one way or the other to each and every one of these SDGs. But there are SDGs that we contribute, or in fact, the contribution is much more prominent than in other SDGs. For example, it's obvious that we contribute to SDG 4, SDG 3, SDG 5, SDG 8, etc., etc. So I selected just those SDGs, and through the review of literature, through just the rudimentary reading of literature, I then identified various ways by which public libraries contribute to these SDGs. Now, I started with SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. In terms of the SDG itself, it's a shortened version, good health and well-being, but it says ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So how do public libraries contribute to this? Public libraries provide access to trusted health information, be it in the form of statistics, where you are saying that in this region, so many people are HIV positive, so many are affected by COVID-19, just giving those trends and other information as to how you deal with various ailments. What are the remedies? Basically, be it traditional remedies or even Western kind of remedies that you can use to treat certain ailments. Promote health awareness and education. This is the role that we are supposed to play. You're supposed to have exhibitions, basically, during certain health days. I've been to a number of public libraries, and I'm proud, to say that the ones that I've used, they have actually done these displays to show that, to promote health awareness, cancer week, this and that, just to ensure that the public is informed in terms of those things. They provide information about health issues, treatments, and other resources. They serve as safe spaces for community health engagement. I read somewhere where they would even call certain nurses to come to library spaces to explain some of the ailments that people common, diseases within the area, and sometimes to even assist inside the library, to support community health initiatives, and programs. That is some of the roles that have been indicated in literature. Regarding quality education, it's a lot that public libraries do. But then these are some of the ones that I identified reading literature. They provide spaces that support learning and research. They offer resources for high school and tertiary students. They deliver information literacy training for lifelong learning. And they partner with university or with universities for mutual benefits. I know that, for example, in South Africa, the University of South Africa, being, an ODEL or open distance learning, university, they cannot have library facilities everywhere. So what they normally do is to partner with public libraries so that they can provide information access, information resources to their students. So this is a role where public libraries are using their space and even their resources, because then you find that UNISA trains these public libraries to be able to assist their students. So you are being paid by the municipality to do your work, but then you do get a bit of training from UNISA to actually do this. And it does help in terms of now UNISA providing some of the facilities and infrastructure like ICT, etc., for these students. And then they also provide, there's a lot of examples that I saw in literature where public libraries provide homework and project assistance to high school students. And these libraries also partner with preschools to provide story time reading for the little ones. They facilitate the formation of book clubs to enhance literacy skills. And they participate in writing clubs to enhance the writing skills of users. Quite a number of writing clubs that have been initiated by the librarians. There's a lot of those reports in literature. There might be other ways, colleagues, that you think about that you contribute to this SDG that I might have left out. Please, you can send those, or during the discussion after this, you can add those. And then in terms of the gender equality, I read that you empower women through digital and information skills development. There was a report emanating from Cape Town. I think it was, and even at Liasa, Dr. I think Flippy van der Walt did talk about where, I think they call it WIL. I can't remember what does it stand for, but it's women something. But this is where the City of Cape Town libraries are actually empowering women through digital and information skills training so that they can develop into information literacy citizens, digital and information literacy, literate citizens. And then they promote women's rights, awareness and education. They support initiatives that seek to address period poverty and women's well-being. If you look at the Nelson Mandela, what is it called? Nelson Mandela Municipality, but this is in Gqeberha, you find reports that there is a mayoral campaign where they collect sanitary towels, for girls and women. And these are being collected in the library. So they are deposited in the library. And the girls and the women, they get those from the library. So this is the support, towards gender equality. Because, we know the issue of period poverty in South Africa, where there are, differences between access, to these, sanitary towels. And they provide targeted ICT training for women and girls and advocate for gender equality through recognition of key women-focused events, your Women's Day, etc., etc. With regards to decent work and economic development, public libraries support job seekers with employment searches, CV writing, and even interview preparation. They provide spaces for career exhibitions and job fairs. They offer skills development and training opportunities for community members. Regarding the SDGs on sustainable cities and community development, and communities, I focused mainly on target 11.4, which is a target that we as the library sector actually agitated for it to be added as part of the SDGs. And it says to protect the world's cultural and natural heritage. So what role are we playing in terms of target 11.4? We preserve and promote cultural heritage. We safeguard and support indigenous languages. We curate and provide access to local cultural knowledge. We support local authors and community publishing initiatives. You will find what I'm talking about in literature. It's clearly indicated there. And then in terms of SDG 13, which is take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Public libraries provide access to reliable information on climate change. They promote environmental awareness and advocacy. They deliver climate and environmental literacy programs and curate collections that support environmental education. Now I'm going to go to another SDGs that IFLA contributed to, the sector actually contributed to. We asked for the addition of access to information as part of an SDG. And if you look at target 16.10 of this SDG, it says ensure public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms in accordance with national legislation and international agreements. So how do we as public libraries then contribute to this? By ensuring that there is equitable access to information for all. I said to you, public libraries do not discriminate. You can be a university student. They don't say, no, go to your library at UNISA, go to your library at Stellenbosch University, go to your library at Northwest University. They are obliged to actually access or allow you to access the library. So they provide equitable access to information. And they promote civic awareness and participation in the democratic process. If you go to public libraries, you often find sometimes some pamphlets. I don't know if this applies to all public libraries, but those that I've been to, you'll find some papers for community participation, and also there will be some announcements to say this is, whatever is being, discussed at the moment. Sorry. If there is a bylaw that is being reviewed or being, discussed, and it requires public participation, you'll find those forms in public libraries in terms of how you can go about doing that. And public libraries actually support voter education. And in some cases, there are instances where public libraries have served as voting stations, thereby strengthening our democratic democratic processes and institutions. Ensuring that voters understand or they understand how to vote, and also make informed choices in terms of who to vote. And those were the SDGs, colleagues, that I selected. But as I said, I do think that public libraries do contribute to all the SDGs. But I think with the ones, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With the 7 that I selected, I think, they play a more prominent and obvious role, in terms of supporting and ensuring the actualization of those SDGs. Now, I attempted to look at how you can align library programs to the SDGs. One, by developing strategic agendas that explicitly align with the SDGs to clearly demonstrate the impact. Two, by sharing and showcasing your SDG impact stories, IFLA encourages all the libraries to write SDG impact stories. There's even a website where you can enter your impact story, SDG impact story, and don't take the activities that you are doing lightly. Don't undermine the work that you are doing, because you are contributing not only to national development, but to international development. So it's important that you share those stories. You share your stories assisting, the local authors to publish their work, to self-publish their work. You should share those stories, show that this is the contribution that we as the library is making. Actually, I think it's time for us as libraries, not only the public, but as libraries, to not only produce annual reports, but we should also produce SDG impact reports so that we can show that this is how we contribute to development, so that these people, the decision makers, the powers that be, can take us seriously and show, or in fact, and realize that these people are actually making a critical contribution in terms of the development. Hence, the next point is to strengthen SDG reporting by mapping our programs and activities to relevant goals, to promote SDG awareness by displaying the goals prominently within library spaces, to play an active advocacy role within the municipalities, to position libraries in local development agendas. So in conclusion, I'll read it as it is, colleagues. I struggled to write this conclusion, so I cannot, but only read it. The SDGs provide a shared global framework through which public libraries can more effectively communicate their impact and return on investment to decision makers. By embracing this framework, public libraries can relay, their contribution in the language that policymakers and funders understand. Because these people do not always fully recognize the vital role that we as the libraries play in advancing the development agenda. This presentation, therefore, serves as a call for action for public librarians to continually reflect on the broader significance of their work. The promotion of literacy, equitable access to information, and the provision of inclusive community spaces remains amongst the strongest ways in which the public libraries demonstrate and contribute to the SDGs. I'm arguing that the time has come to position public libraries not merely as service points, but as active engines for sustainable development. So the challenge is to make the contribution of public libraries to the SDGs more visible. We should be more intentional in terms of how we do this. There should be intentionality. This is where the strategic agenda speaks to. So the intention is to actually contribute to the SDG even before you contribute. It shouldn't be by accident that we contribute to the SDGs. It should be something that is intentional. But the main challenge is how we are going to assess and measure that contribution. And we should try to ensure that we find ways, we find means, we find frameworks that can assist us to assess and measure that contribution so that we can be able to argue to powers that be that this is the contribution that we are making to the international development agenda, to the national development agenda, to the continental development agenda. Thank you so much, colleagues. I will be open to questions. I hope you are still with me. I'm not speaking to myself. Shanita?
No, you certainly not. And I think what an incredible presentation. Thank you, Dr. Bangani. I think you have done us so proud, and it's something that we as the public library sector needed to understand. So thank you so much. We will open the floor for questions if anybody has any comments. I see the chat box has been quite busy. A lot of people have been sharing their thoughts in the chat box. So, colleagues, this is your time to ask Dr. Bangani any question or share your comments. And yeah, let's give you the platform to share. I think
Thank
you've
you,
done.
Shanita. Sorry, I can't see why I need to raise my hand. I'm Teresa from Emery's Sentin campus. First of all, I want to thank you for arranging this important debate, conversation, and also to thank Dr. Bangani for enlightening us. Like as we put in the chart, I can see some of the colleagues are also alluding to the fact that they were not aware of the contributions that they are making. So this was such an eye opener, you know, for us, for the colleagues to showcase what they are doing towards uplifting our communities, towards supporting the SDGs. So thank you. Thank you very much for that.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Alex, is there any other question? Any other comments? All right, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Shanitha. And I also want to thank Dr. Bangani for this wonderful presentation. I think, first of all, I want to ask the question on the issue of the SDG4. And I want to believe that Dr. Bangani, you know very well, I think, to the best of my understanding, the Sustainable Development Goals were then implemented somewhere around 2015, and the target is 2030. We are already now in the 2/3. We are left with just a 4 year to reach the target. Now, are we getting there, Dr. Bangani? I'm asking this question in line with the, you look at the provision of ICTs equipment in the public libraries, especially those in deep rural areas. Are we supplying the things that we are supposed to be doing? We have the target, the Agenda 2030. Are we providing ICT equipment as per the plan? And secondly, the issue of, you mentioned something about supporting academic institution like your students in the communities. The question would be, I remember we had more like a satellite library in that was receiving books from UNISA, but later it was somehow closed. I want to check with you from the research point of view if other provinces had successful relationships with academic library where they collect books that were supposed to serve these academic students, because most of the academic books and both printed and digital are very expensive, and the only solution for public libraries at this time is maybe that marriage which you mentioned, where universities can partner with the public libraries and provide these roles. From the research point of view, do you have any province that is successful in terms of providing that? And lastly, in conclusion, Doctor, I'm just checking, are we the unsung heroes and heroines as library service professionals? Because you look at the SDG for education, in as much as you would get a high percentage of high rate, high percentage of matriculants, but very seldom that we are being mentioned as librarians having played a role towards that statistics. Thanks a lot, Shanitha. Over to you.
Okay, shall I respond, Shanitha?
Yes, please, Dr. Bangani, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Maybe I should start with the last question, which says, are librarians unsung heroes? I remember a few years back, it must have been 2021, when we had our symposium, library symposium at Stellenbosch University. The title was From Hero to Superhero. So we considered ourselves as librarians as superheroes. But the question would be, do others consider us as heroes or even superheroes? I do have my doubts. The colleague is speaking about us being unsung heroes. To say, are we getting enough commendations from the power that be? Are we getting enough recognition from the communities, etc., etc.? The reality is that it goes back to what I said earlier. We tend to estimate the kind of contribution, this is us now as librarians, that we are making to the society. So when you report to decision makers and you say, this week, or in fact this month or this year, we had 100 books that were taken out and 5 were returned, 3 are lost. What does it say to the decision maker? It communicates nothing, because you are not telling them that this is the contribution that I, as the librarian, is making towards the development, towards the literacy in this community. So we need to also reflect and look at ourselves as to how do we communicate the kind of work that we are doing. We are not just librarians. We are not just librarians, we are librarians. So it's very important that we first value, or in fact we communicate in a way that shows that we value the kind of work that we are doing. So we must see ourselves as heroes first before others can see us as heroes. So it's very important, colleagues, that we change our attitude in terms of how we talk about the things that we are doing. Hence, it's very important that we align with the development agenda that they understand, and show them that this is our contribution to the development agenda. So then they will take us, more seriously. Otherwise, we'll remain those unsung heroes if we don't do it ourselves. We should actually brag about the things that we are doing. We should write about the things that we are doing. So it's very important that we continuously get the message across to say we are important. This society is dependent on us for development. So basically, that's how we should do it. And then in terms of the other question to say, are there any success stories in terms of the partner university public library partnerships? I can say there are, but then I'm not really, I don't know, I must say, because sometimes these partnerships, they only work for a few years, and then thereafter, it comes to an end. But, when it comes to partnership, it's always important to know that there would be setbacks here and there, but then continuously strive to get more partnerships. And the partners must see you as adding value. So it shouldn't be, a partnership where you think that, okay, this one is more important than that one. It should be a real partnership of mutual benefit. What are you adding, to your partnership? It's very important that you come up and you add something. So it says mutual benefit, not only where, one partner actually gains. I do know, quite a few partnerships. Maybe I shouldn't even mention them because I'm not sure if I would say they are successful or not. I've not really done, that kind of a deep dive, that kind of research, in terms of how successful are the partnerships between university and public libraries. All I can say is that those partnerships are critical, and it is partnerships, that we should strive towards. But we should also look beyond, just partnering, between ourselves as librarians. There are NGOs that are in the space of, reading promotion, book clubs, etc., etc. I think the other issue with these partnerships is that they tend not to be very well structured. So they will depend on individuals. If the head of libraries in Northwest leaves and a new one comes, they are not in support of partnerships, then, the whole partnership collapses. So I think it's high time that we get high level, support and support in terms of the partnerships, for them to succeed, so that they don't depend on the relationships, at personal levels. Those are important, but then it's also important that the partnership, is more structured in a way. The other question was, are we getting there with regards to the SDGs? Countries do report, on the progress in terms of what they are doing with regards to the SDGs. But the reality is that it will be impossible for us to achieve everything that has been indicated in the SDGs by 2030. I even doubt you will do it by 2060. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't aspire towards those things. So we should see this as an end goal. We shouldn't be, limited by the time frame, by the time factor. Hence, we should use these SDGs as a framework rather than as an end. This should be a means to an end that we should strive towards. But then in terms of achieving everything, are we getting there? That was the question. My answer would be, with regards to some SDGs, we are doing quite well. If you look at the report in terms of South Africa, but there are SDGs that were even regressing, unfortunately. Fortunately for you, in terms of SDG 4, this is where we have really made strides as a country, and we should be able to give ourselves, that to say we've done well here. Of course, we cannot overnight, just solve everything. Sorry, those are very long answers. Perhaps people still want to engage more. Thank you, Shanitha.
Thank you, Dr. Bangani. Apelele, please help me. Is there anybody else with any other questions? I can't see from my side.
No hand at the moment.
No hands at the moment. Okay. Yeah, looking at the notes, colleagues, I see everybody's quite happy with the presentation. But just from my end, just to share a little bit from what Dr. Bangani has presented. Colleagues, if we follow the manifesto, the 12 key missions and how it aligns with the SDGs, important things like preservation of indigenous knowledge, our cultural heritage, the other thing is not articulating your contribution to development. What are you doing to market, to advocate? What are you doing to brag about your contributions? This is where we as librarians, whether we academic or whether we public, this is where we are falling short. We are not marketing our worth. Yes, we may not be contributing to all of the SDGs, but there are a good few that we are. We cannot do a comparative analysis with, for example, an African country like Uganda, where farming is a big factor and they can align that SDG with theirs. As Dr. Bangani has stated, education is a fundamental factor where we have aligned ourselves more than adequately. Colleagues, you undertake all of these projects. And I think we may not achieve all of it as Dr. Mangani has stated, but I think by 2060 we would be super close to achieving a large part if only we can work together. If we can align ourselves and share our information, we should not be working in silos. The other thing Dr. Bangani talked about was partnerships. And I know all of you are doing it. You are engaging, you are interacting, whether it's your schools, your health centers, your hospitals, your creches, the FETs, local ward councillors, farmers. You are doing all of that. But as I said, you're not sharing it. And I believe that we as libraries have become multifunctional institutions. We're not just seeing ourselves as a dispensation of books. We are doing so much more. So I think from my side, I want you to stand up tall and not just call yourself a librarian. You are a professional librarian. Go out there and market your worth. And I cannot thank you enough, Dr. Bangani, for sharing with us today what our colleagues needed to see in a more physical format, a more visual format, how the SDGs are aligning to what they are doing. And the way you presented it today, I'm sure has given all of them an opportunity to say, yes, we are doing this. Yes, we are in line with that. So, colleagues, from my side, go and read the SDGs, look at what the targets are, and do that analysis for yourself. And let's start sharing stories. Let's work together. And I know Dr. Bangani would not say no to offering advice and assistance to each one or ever needs help, how we can market our stories on the IFLA platform. Dr. Bangani, I know that was a mouthful from my side, but I'm just so happy to have you with us, and I think the colleagues as well. We've learned so much today, and I don't know if there's any other hands up, Alele, but I think from my side, we've covered this adequately well. Colleagues, thank you for your time. Dr. Bangani, you have been
No,
incredible.
yes, thank you so much, Shanitha. It was, good for me to at least, move out of my comfort zone. I normally present to academic librarians, so to actually present to public librarians, I'm even thinking that maybe I should start writing, in this area of public libraries.
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes. I really do believe so because we need that support. And as I
yeah.
said, we don't want to feel alienated from the academic sector. We want to be included. And we want the academic sector to also include the public librarians in their work and their programs as well. But thank you once again, Dr. Bangani. Thank you for your time. I know how busy you are, and this has been absolutely awesome. Colleagues, thank you all for attending. I appreciate your time. And please look out for our next session. It's going to be on artificial intelligence coming soon. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Thank you, Apalele. Thank you, the office team.
Thanks. Bye.